All right, welcome back, physical science teachers. We last talked about using the scope and sequence in the last video, and now we're going to jump into the actual curriculum map. And this first video, we're actually doing I guess this is the second video, but we're just going to focus in on this first page here, what I call the curriculum landing page or unit landing page. And I really want to make sure that you understand how to best use this document before we move down to the actual suggested pacing, which is where most of your planning is going to take place. As you can see, there's still a few typos that I'm working off, but hopefully this looks pretty much similar to what you guys are seeing now. All right, so we're going to kind of cover everything from the top left, work our way down, and then come over to here, making sure that you understand all the different components. First off, you have the pacing calendar. This is just a jump down the page. So let's say I don't want to scroll all the way down to chapter 6. I can just click this and it's a bookmark. I'm on the same document. It just took me down to the bottom. So it's just a quick navigational tool. Nothing crazy there. However, let's say that physical science isn't your background and sometimes you get a bit rusty on the exact topics and what you're supposed to be teaching. I do have a background knowledge document for you guys. And what this does is it highlights, hey, here's what this course is, the key topics for this unit. And then what I like the most are some common student misconceptions. Students often come in with an idea in their mind on how physics works. And we have to overcome that to show them the real way that the things work. So these could be very useful. And then it also gives you some ideas for assessments and teaching strategies. Just a disclaimer, this document was created by an AI. So, it took like 5 seconds for it to generate, which made it easier for me. So if you find that these aren't useful or you find errors, let me know and I'll try to update with something a bit more thought put behind it. But for those that are new, I think you'll find those useful. Coming down, you have this link to structuring the science block. This is a document that predates me, but what it does have, we teach block scheduling, and that's like 80 to 90 minutes. And so we don't want to do just one thing for that entire time. Really, how do we break that up into having different parts of it? A good strategy is like, hey, if we're going to do some notes, whatever the notes are here at the beginning, how are students using what they learned directly in some activity the rest of the class? So that would be a good way to think of it. Also doing the typical I do, we do, you do, different ways of breaking that up so that way 80 minutes doesn't feel like 100 minutes, have the students being more active in class. I talked in the last video on the scope and sequence, how most of those resources are accessible also on here. So proficiency scales and the assessments are here as well. If you have questions over those things, just go back and check out that video. I won't repeat myself. Coming down here are different district resources that we are using, and these are all links. So if you want a link to get to Gizmo, you can click in there, DeFET, study.com. Although study.com, you probably have to use your own link via Canvas. We're trying to switch that up, so maybe that's different by the time you're watching. Nearpod and Biozone, which is our new resource that houses the physical science. So feel free to use those links. I tend to, as you can see up here on my bookmarks bar, all the tabs and websites that I use very frequently, I'm bookmarking so I can navigate easily. And I'll even, if it's got an iconic logo, take out the text so it's just, I have more icons available to me. So there's a little cheat for you. Coming back up, each unit we try to start off with some sort of anchoring phenomena and some sort of unit project. In this case, the unit project doesn't actually happen right at the end after chapter 6. It actually goes after chapter 5 because you talk about momentum. So you could do the egg drop challenge, and it's actually listed in one of the activities as something to do. So it actually blends right in with the resource this year, which is really nice. And then I came up with a new anchoring phenomena for this unit, the space jump. This was the Red Bull guy that jumped from the edge of space. We say edge of space. He was only 24 miles above, and generally speaking, space is typically listed at 100 miles. So not quite to the space level, but pretty high up there. But why we do this is a topic that students can keep in mind as they learn all these topics about forces, motion, and interactions. And then at the end, they'll be able to look at this and sort of explain what was going on, the different forces, when does drag kick in, all those sorts of things. They'll better be able to explain what's going on. A few guiding questions. Again, these are things students will be able to answer by the end. And to kind of keep students focused, because, we're going to be talking a lot, teaching all this over a 9-week period, will they even remember this introductory phenomena? So I've been generating these posters. These are things I create. And these I would suggest printing off and putting up by your door as a way for students to remember during this unit, oh yeah, we're trying to answer this question about this guy who jumped out of space. We're going to go over these 3 chapters. Here are our guiding questions. And they're just really cool to look at and remind students what it is that we're learning to tie it back to a bigger story. And that kind of goes to this, let's not jump ahead. So that's what that poster's for. Print that off, put it by the door. And I already know some of you who do that previous years. We got the Ready for Rigor framework. This is just something from the district from our some of our focuses in the previous years. I kind of highlight where there's like 4 categories, and I made a video that's on there so you can check it out for more details. But I kind of highlight where those different frameworks can be found or utilized within the curriculum app. Check that video if you need more. And at some point, I might write some example lesson plans for you all to help give you an idea of how you can use all of our resources for some engaging lessons. So I'll work on that. I've also generated these. Actually, I don't think this is me. This is actually from the book. But just so that you get an idea of how the unit all ties together, they have these graphic organizers that show how all the concepts connect. This one's not actually going to have chapter 1, but this is chapter 5 and chapter 6 and how they connect. Again, chapter 1 is that science practices chapter. And then I type up a little storyline because we don't want these to feel like disconnected little lessons. These all tie together to kind of build towards a story. And when we teach it that way, students start to build those and bridge those ideas all together, and I think they learn a lot better. So hopefully you can see the purpose of this page is to help you plan out a full unit in a way that makes it all cohesive, and it's not just a bunch of random lessons. Students are building their knowledge for a bigger picture, and then by the end they can demonstrate that all in a project or explaining the phenomena. So I hope you guys found that useful. On the next video I'm going to jump down and show you guys the suggested pacing guide, and that's really the more where the core bit of resources are available for your day-to-day lesson planning. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.